Уважаемые коллеги, dear colleagues, are we audible? Can everybody on Zoom hear the main room? Please react somehow if you do. Yeah, so my impression is that we are audible. It is my pleasure to welcome everyone, both here offline and online, of course. On behalf of the Russian International Affairs Council, it is a great pleasure to have an event dedicated to Eurasian integration and various cooperation processes in Eurasia as early of the year as now. Today is January the 20th, and we are already back to work. And we are back to work with a very important topic for Eurasian Economic Union and for Russia in particular, which is precisely the EAEU-Mongolia Cooperation, which was hugely boosted last year in June when the interim trade agreement was signed, which is currently under ratification, which actually stimulated us to give this topic an additional thought and discuss today in more detail various aspects of this agreement, which are trade, transport and logistics, investment, and probably other areas. And we are actually delighted that today we not only have Russian participants and representatives of the Eurasian Economic Commission. We're very happy to see Vladimir Mikhailovich today, again, after several years, but also our friends and colleagues from Mongolia, which is, I think, quite a rare occasion to compare our visions, to compare notes on the agenda of integration. So please, dear colleagues, feel very welcome. We are very happy that today we have representatives of various Mongolian institutions, such as the Institute of International Relations of Mongolian Academy of Sciences, as well as National Development Institute of Mongolia. I think this will give us broader perspective on the spectrum of opinions in Mongolia as well. Without further delay, I'm happy to give the floor to the Deputy Director General of the Russian International Affairs Council, Mr. Dmitriy Kiku, for welcoming remarks.
Good morning. I'm glad to invite you to a special event which is very important for us because it is not very often when we are dealing with such issues like Mongolian, Russian or Mongolian EAEU cooperation. So as my colleague Julia said before, last year in June, Mongolia and the EAEU signed an agreement on bilateral cooperation, and we are here today to discuss such issues, the prospects of the further cooperation between the Mongolia and the EAEU, and of course today we gathered the main expert on this issue, and in this regard I would like to give the floor Mr. Vladimir Serpikov, Director, Trade Policy Department, Eurasian Economic Commission. Vladimir, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. It's my pleasure to attend this meeting, this roundtable. You know, we didn't receive any information that the discussion will be in the English language. Therefore, I have my points in Russian. I believe it won't be a problem for the participants because I'm not prepared to go on in English, in fact.
Sure, apologies. If something's wrong, then we will make sure that our Mongolian friends who do not speak Russian will receive the interpretation.
Well, in fact, we organized a round table in Minsk in June, last June, on the margins of the Eurasian Economic Forum, and there was interpretation, but the round table was in Russian. And a lot of our Mongolian friends and partners, they have a good command in Russian, really. Therefore, I hope it won't be a big problem for the participants, and I will continue in Russian. Доброе утро, уважаемые коллеги. Прежде всего, я хотел бы поблагодарить за приглашение принять участие в работе нашего сегодняшнего круглого стола. Блок Евразийской экономической комиссии по торговле, в который входит возглавляемый мной департамент отвечает за реализацию внешнеторговой политики Евразийского экономического союза. Сюда относятся вопросы таможенно-тарифного регулирования, защиты внутреннего рынка, известная триада защитных мер, и непосредственно работа по заключению и имплементации торговых соглашений Союза, в частности, соглашений о свободной торговле. Это одно из основных направлений в работе Департамента торговой политики. В целом, прошедший 2025 год стал рекордсменом по подписанию международных договоров Союза с третьими странами-партнерами. На полях заседаний Высшего Евразийского экономического совета в июне прошлого года в Минске были подписаны соглашения об экономическом партнерстве с Объединенными Арабскими Эмиратами и временное торговое соглашение с Монголией. А в декабре прошлого года в Санкт-Петербурге, тоже на полях Высшего Евразийского экономического совета, было подписано соглашение о свободной торговле с Индонезией. Мы рассматриваем Монголию как одного из наших стратегических и приоритетных партнеров и придаем особое значение расширению торгово-экономических связей и других направлений сотрудничества между нашими странами, поскольку Монголия – это наш исторический, традиционный партнер, это страна-сосед нашего союза, и поэтому вот такой особый акцент сделан на развитие взаимодействия с нашими монгольскими партнерами. Несмотря на то, что в охват временного торгового соглашения с Монголией вошло только по 367 товарных субпозиций для каждой из сторон, в отношении которых будут обнулены или снижены таможенные пошлины с момента вступления в силу этого соглашения. Уступками монгольской стороны будут покрыты 90% экспорта Российской Федерации в Монголии, ежегодная экономия на уплате ввозных таможенных пошлин для российских экспортеров в Монголию составит до $100 миллионов США. Примерно такие же параметры соглашением устанавливаются и для монгольских экспортеров. То есть либерализация фактически покроет всю нашу взаимную торговлю. Беспошлинный режим для товаров ЕАЭС будет предоставлен по таким категориям, как продукты питания, сигареты, различные виды мяса, подсолнечное масло, сахар, нефтепродукты, различные электронные устройства, удобрения, изделия из металлов, некоторые виды машинотехнической продукции и так далее. То есть наш традиционный экспорт, который на протяжении многих лет у нас наблюдался и развивался. Временное соглашение с Монголией заключается на 3 года с возможностью продления его действия на еще один 3-летний период. На данный момент это соглашение внесено на ратификационные процедуры в странах ЕАЭС, необходимые для вступления данного документа в силу. И по состоянию на сегодня процедуры завершены, насколько нам известно, в Монголии, в Республике Беларусь и Российской Федерации. Комиссией буквально на днях получена нота от Республики Беларусь о завершении ратификационных процедур по соглашению. И ожидаем, соответственно, завершения этого процесса со стороны Армении, Кыргызстана и Республики Казахстан. Надеемся, что временное соглашение вступит в силу уже летом 2026 года. Хочется также отметить развивающееся взаимодействие с монгольскими деловыми кругами. В данной связи нельзя не вспомнить успешно состоявшийся круглый стол ЕАЭС-Монголия на полях Евразийского экономического форума в прошлом году в Минске, я уже отмечал это мероприятие. В мероприятии приняли участие высокопоставленные представители государств-членов ЕАЭС и Монголии, в частности, исполняющие обязанности президента Монгольской национальной торгово-промышленной палаты и другие высокопоставленные руководители из правительства Монголии. На круглом столе были обсуждены вопросы торгово-экономического взаимодействия ЕАЭС и его государств-членов с Монголией, общие практические ожидания сторон в связи с подписанием Временного торгового соглашения, а также перспективы и последующие необходимые шаги для расширения и укрепления деловых связей между Союзом и Монголией. Отмечаю также, что Евразийская экономическая комиссия открыта к коммуникации с бизнесом Монголии и к запросам от монгольских деловых кругов. Вопросы, требующие высокого уровня проработки, будут выноситься на рассмотрение совместного комитета, который мы учредим в соответствии со статьей 26 Временного торгового соглашения. И в завершение хотел бы пожелать всем успешной работы в рамках сегодняшнего круглого стола, пользуясь случаем, пригласить участников мероприятия, запланировать свое участие в работе нашего ежегодного флагманского мероприятия в Евразийском экономическом форуме 2026, который пройдет 28-29 мая в Астане, в Республике Казахстан. Благодарю за внимание.
Thank you very much, Vladimir Mikhailovich. That's actually very good news because we knew about the forum, but we didn't know the dates. So now we know the dates so that everyone can plan accordingly and schedule our participation in the forum. Thank you very much for this invitation. So we will proceed in English if nobody objects to that. And if somebody does object to that, then please let us know so that we could translate your remarks or your presentation to the Mongolian colleagues further on. And for our last but not least welcoming or introductory remark, I'm happy to give the floor to Dr. Andrey Tochin, Director of the Institute for the Development of Integration Processes at the Russian Foreign Trade Academy. Actually, it was the Institute who suggested we held this roundtable today, so we are very grateful. Please, the floor is yours.
Very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the Eurasian Economic Commission with the signing of interim agreement with Mongolia. And anyway, their enlargement of the sphere of free trade zones, from my point of view, is good. But in each case, we should try to find some benefits, and we will be most happy if we see some significant benefits in establishing free trade regime. Concerning our case of free trade between the Eurasian Economic Union and Mongolia, we had made some estimates, and Nikita Pyzhikov will discuss them, will show them more in details. But from my point of view, those effects, those possible profits from the free trade regime are on a quite low level due to let's say the fact that we have quite similar economies. The economies are based on natural resources in most EAEU countries and Mongolia also, and in the world trade we are probably more competitors than some partners, and the rate of GDP, for example, GDP of Mongolia is approximately 1% of the GDP of the countries of the Eurasian Economic Union. So we could not expect that effects in trade will be very, very high. But in this case, we have to look for some cooperation projects which we could conduct in cooperation together with the Mongolian side, and try to find some synergy in concrete spheres. So, saying that, I would like to transfer the floor to Nikita. Nikita, are you here with us?
Yes, good morning, colleagues.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to give you a speech about the economics and trade relations between the Eurasian Economic Union and Mongolia. Actually, I have a presentation, but it's in Russian. But I'll try to speak in English and make some conclusions in English also. So should I start the presentation, or will somebody turn it on from your side? So can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So here's the topic of our presentation. It's about the state and perspectives of trade and economic cooperation between the Eurasian Economic Union and Mongolia. I think after this roundtable, I'll translate it into English so that we could share it with our colleagues from Mongolia. So the first one, slide is about the dynamics of trading goods between the Eurasian Economic Union and Mongolia. So in 2015 to 2024, trade turnover between the Eurasian Economic Union and Mongolia, it more than doubled, plus 160%, take into account this time period, reaching about $3 billion in 2024. However, we can see, of course, that this growth was driven almost entirely by imports from the Eurasian Economic Union, while Mongolia's exports remained broadly stagnated. So trade dynamics is actually are import-led and commodity-driven, and imports from the Eurasian Economic Union by Mongolia increased by 170% from 2015, reflecting Mongolia's growing dependence on Eurasian Economic Union supplies of energy products and industrial imports, whereas exports of Mongolia to the Eurasian Economic Union, it rose only by 14%, indicated actually limited integration of Mongolian producers into the Eurasian Economic Union market. So the relative importance of the Eurasian Economic Union in Mongolia's trade is actually declining, but still plays quite a huge role in its trade turnover. Despite quite high absolute volumes, the Eurasian Economic Union's share in Mongolia's total merchandise trade fell from almost like 14% to 11%, reflecting Mongolia's faster trade expansion with non-Eurasian Economic Union partners, primarily with China. So the Eurasian Economic Union actually is a key supplier, but not a destination market for Mongolia. In 2024, the Eurasian Economic Union accounted for 1/4 of Mongolia's total imports, but less than 1% of its exports. pointing to structural, asymmetric, and supply-oriented trade relationship. Going to the next slide, here is structure of trade, merchandise trade between the Eurasian Economic Union and Mongolia. Actually, mutual trade remains structurally concentrated in mineral and energy commodities. So mineral products continue to dominate in our trade. However, their role has evolved asymmetrically across exports and imports. So Mongolia's export structure to the Eurasian Economic Union has become less concentrated, but not more diversified in value terms. Actually, the share of mineral products in, as you can see from the table, the share of mineral products in Mongolia's exports to the Eurasian Economic Union declined from nearly 80% in 2015 to about 60% in 2024. Yet experts, they remained focused on a narrow set of raw and semi-processed goods, primarily energy-related products. And as far as I investigated and as far as I analyzed trade of Mongolia, these mineral products, the trade in mineral products, Mongolia increased primarily with China. So as to the imports, import dependence on the Eurasian Economic Union, primarily Russia, has intensified and become more energy-centric. In contrast, the share of mineral products in Mongolia's imports from the Eurasian Economic Union, it increased to over 74% by 2024, driven, as we can see from the table from the right, mainly by medium, heavy distillates, light distillates, and electricity. So if we take a look at top 5 products, product analysis, it confirms a limited structural change. Both in 2024 and 2015, Mongolia's exports to the Eurasian Economic Union were dominated by quite a small number of commodity positions, while imports remained heavily concentrated in fuel and energy products, with only quite marginal entry of industrial and high value added goods. Signs of diversification, they are present, but remain secondary. So we can see that there is a growing share of chemical products, machinery exports, which indicates emerging diversification. However, these segments are still insufficient to alter the overall commodity-driven nature of trade between Mongolia and Eurasian Economic Union. Here are some key provisions of the Eurasian Economic Union and Mongolia Free Trade Agreement. What I would like to say here is, of course, there's have already been told that tariff liberalization is quite selective. Import duty is reduced and eliminated on 386 tariff lines, covering Mongolia's exports of primarily agricultural goods and Eurasian Economic Union exports of light industry goods and also agricultural goods. And as far as I analyzed and seen the structure of trade between Mongolia and the Eurasian Economic Union, and as far as I analyzed tariffs which are applied, these goods on which the tariff lines were eliminated or reduced, these goods, they actually have the highest tariffs in trade between these two, between Mongolia and the Eurasian Economic Union, which is quite beneficial for exporters from both sides. So then we come to rules of origin. They remain relatively strict. Preferential access requires then that non-originating materials do not exceed 50% of the FCA value or change in HS code at the 4-digit level. The agreement is strongly entered in WTO disciplines. TBT SPS cooperation is consultative, not binding. Here we can see from the text of this agreement that there is an institutional framework for technical consultations on TBT and SPS issues, but without enforceable commitments to mutual recognition or regulatory harmonization, which is quite common for the trade agreements which the Eurasian Economic Union has. I would like to actually stop here. Here are some expected economic effects of the Eurasian Economic Union and Mongolia Free Trade Agreement. For these calculations, we used general equilibrium model using GTAP and actual macroeconomic statistics, and also up-to-date trade statistics. So we can see, as we can see from the table, the economic gains from this agreement, they are highly asymmetric. Mongolia captures the overwhelming share of benefits, while the effects for individual Eurasian Economic Union member states remain relatively small in both relative and absolute terms. For the Eurasian Economic Union as a whole, macroeconomic effect is positive but marginal. So Mongolia emerges as the main beneficiary of the agreement. GDP is projected to increase by 0.7% in yearly terms. What does it mean? It means that when all the provisions of the agreement will be applied, after that period, Mongolia's GDP will be yearly bigger by 0.7% in real terms after the application of all of the provisions. Here is also some calculations, which is a piece of thought for maybe future cooperation and future deepening of integration between the Mongolia and the Eurasian Economic Union. So as far as we calculated using the ITC methodology, the unrealized export potential between the Eurasian Economic Union and Mongolia is about $2.2 billion in both directions. There is some quite huge unrealized potential for exports of energy goods from from Eurasian Economic Union to Mongolia. It's increased by $1.3 billion, but still it's quite a thing for discussion. I think it's much more interesting results about the agricultural products. We can see that that Eurasian Economic Union can increase its exports of meat, some of the metal goods, some of the chemical goods, and etc. If we take a look at Mongolia, so we can see that Mongolia's unrealized export potential it's $0.1 billion or $100 million. Its export potential remains commodity heavy but more diversified in product types. So key positions include copper, zinc, and precious metal ores, coal, meat and meat products, and some niche and agricultural and food products. So value-added exports actually remain marginal, indicating that Mongolia's unrealized export potential lies primarily in raw materials, processed goods, rather than manufacturing goods. And here are some other directions which we can use, to expand our cooperations. These are manufacturing cooperation, agriculture, information technology, and of course transport. These are the directions which we can use to deepen integration between the Eurasian Economic Union and Mongolia further than tariff elimination and reduction. These include in the field of manufacturing, actually, such directions as energy, as infrastructure, as green economy and government sector. As to the agricultural direction, here we can somehow cooperate in the field of innovative technologies, in the field of agriculture, which lead to more effective production of agricultural goods. And as to the information technology, we in the Eurasian Economic Union have quite a broad experience in using information technology for production, which we can share also with our colleagues from Mongolia. And of course, one of the main and one of the most important directions is transport, because Mongolia is situated between China and Russia, and has a quite important position for increasing our trade, also using some of the infrastructure which has Mongolia, and it may become quite important transitional hub for increasing trade between the Eurasian Economic Union and China also. So sorry for this long speech, because in English it takes a bit more time to talk and to try to translate everything you want to share. So I will be glad to answer your questions, and as I have promised, I will translate this presentation into English and share it with you. Thank you.
Nikita, thank you very much for such a broad presentation. Usually, we love your analysis for being so complex and presenting the macroeconomic outlook on any direction of the EAEU foreign trade. I think that was extremely important for the start of our conversation, and we will remember your promise that you are going to translate that into English, as our Mongolian colleagues, I'm sure, are very keen to take a closer look on the slides. And so this is a great opportunity to pass the floor on to the Mongolian side. We were told that Dr. Amarsana Bagda, head of Public Administration Department of the National Development Institute, is ready to present Mongolian view on the matter. Please, the floor is yours.
So good morning, everyone. So it's also a great pleasure to meet you on online. So somehow, like also with our team of the National Development Institute. So we are some of our researchers, our principals and researchers from our institute, and also from our international affairs officer, also attending this meeting. So the forum brings together key stakeholders committed to advancing regional integration and economic partnership. So our object today is to move beyond aspirations and focus on more actionable and evidence-based data and strategies that can deliver many fruitful results. So we already discussed about this three different issues. So this I would like to start with this first pillar, so economic and investment cooperation. So, and then our colleagues will continue more on the other two parts. and also giving you more detailed information about our cooperation with the EAE, Eurasian Economic Union. So I would like to start with this first cooperation part. Well, it's a framing that took me before as the Eurasian Economic Union represents the vast and dynamic market. Despite the potential, Mongolia's export footprint remains modest. Our task is clear: to move forward to potential to performance. This requires two things: readiness and facilitation. So for the readiness, in terms of product standards, logistics, and institutional capacity. For our baseline, is you see this our Mongolia's the trade and context concentration. So as you also mentioned by the Nikita, so thank you for this. So mostly the latest results is really matching together well. And then facilitation is in terms of reducing the friction and the border and enabling our exporters to compete and connect. To understand where we can go, well, we must first understand where we stand in Mongolia, what was our capacity. In 2025, Mongolia's total trade turnover reached approximately 27 billion US dollars. So exports accounted like 15.7 billion, while imports stood at 11.3 billion US dollars. This represents a slight contraction from 2024, but the overall trade balance remains positive. This is our baseline, our foundation from which is we assess the scope for deeper engagement with the Eurasian Economic Union. So also we would like to show you this, our trade flows, not only the limited in volume, they are also highly concentrated geographically. Nearly 50% of Mongolia's exports pass through Ashur's Pipe, and then over 58% of imports enter via Zamingwood, is our southern border. And this level of concentration exposes us to operational and geopolitical risks. It is also highlights the strategic importance of diversifying our trade corridors, both to enhance resilience and to unlock underutilized gateways. So, and let us now turn to the EAEU itself. With a combined GDP of 2.4 trillion USD, a population of over 185 million, and territory spanning 20 million square kilometers, the EAEU is a formidable economic bloc. Yet, Mongolia's trade with the EAEU remains highly asymmetrical. Despite in 2024, our export to the EAEU totaled just 110 million US dollars, less than 1% of the total exports. Meanwhile, imports from EU reached to 2.9 billion USD, or roughly a quarter of our total imports. This imbalance is not just a statistic, it is a signal that we must do more to enable Mongolian exports to access this market. Moreover, our exports to the EAEU are overwhelmingly concentrated in one country, Russia. In 2024, over 90% of the EAEU bound exports went to Russia. While this reflects historical and logistical realities, it is also underscores a vulnerability. To build a more balanced and sustainable trade relationship, we must diversify not only in products, but in our partners. And that begins with targeted facilitation efforts where we already have traction. Let's now examine the structure of our exports. Over the past 2 decades, the share of non-mining exports has steadily declined. So today, our non-mining exports basket is dominated by animal origin products. This is not inherently negative, but it does limit our competitiveness. To unlock new prospects, we must invest in products upgrading, ensure compliance with the international standards, and strengthen our logistical backbone. Market access is necessary, of course, but it's not sufficient. There is a still true key is a competitiveness as we see. And finally, let us consider the structure of our trade with Russia. Imports from Russia have consistently outpaced exports year after year. This pattern reflects structural asymmetries, but it also points to practical opportunities. So, regional cooperation can help us rebalance it by developing logistical modes, investing in the cold chain infrastructure, piloting trade facilitation measures, and linking small, medium enterprises to cross-border value chains, we can begin to close the gap. There are not abstract ideas, there are actionable steps, and they're within reach. So we were happy to share with you this information and also our research. And all about the more detailed information will discussed by our colleagues from our National Development Institute. Later on. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think that was quite a complementary presentation to what Nikita has also presented. So now we have an opportunity to compare how the outlook looks, sorry for the tautology, to both sides. And now we have an opportunity to proceed to other facets of this harmonization of bilateral trade, which also include legal and normative aspects in the first place. And we are today joined by Dr. Anton Naku, who is an expert of the Center for Competition Law and Anti-Monopoly Regulation of the Eurasian Economic Union at MGIMO University. I know that you are short on time, so please, Dr. Naku, the floor is yours.
Julia, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this meeting. I have enjoyed it. I heard all the rest in 1 year, so I'll try not to double what has been said already. And I have prepared a couple of slides. I can try to share my screen. Just a second. Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. So, okay, so I'll say a couple of words about the legal aspects of the deal, of the trade deal with Mongolia, and touch the key differences in the customs regulations of the two countries, of the two customs territories. So basically, as Director Serpikov already said, what was signed last summer is the interim trade agreement between the Eurasian Economic Union and its member states and Mongolia. This is more or less the same plan of action as has been already implemented between the EAEU and Iran. As you remember, there was a similar interim agreement first. It was prolonged at a certain point of time, and then a full scope free trade agreement came to replace the interim agreement. So I understand that between Mongolia and the EAEU, there will be the same plan of action. So the current interim agreement will stay for its validity term and will be replaced with the free trade agreement. Currently, as Director Serpikov already mentioned, less than 400 subheadings of the customs nomenclature are included under the free trade regime. It means that, yes, they represent the major trading articles between the two countries, but still this is far from what is called in the General Agreement for Tariffs and Trade, substantially all trade between the customs territories. So we cannot call this agreement a free trade agreement under GATT Article 24. But this is an interim agreement which leads to the free trade. Currently, those items which are included under the agreement are liberalized, which means that mostly 0% import duty applies to them from both parts, but some of the subheadings are not fully liberalized. Only a lesser duty rate applies, or a tariff rate quota in Mongolia, which means that the goods can be imported free of duty, but only within certain limited amount for each calendar year. Above that amount, the goods will be charged with the most favored nation duty-free. Most favored nation duty rate. Only goods are covered with this agreement. As far as we know, Mongolia has already a free trade agreement with Japan, which extends to services and investments. This agreement only covers goods, which complies with the competence of the Eurasian Economic Union. Also, as we know, Eurasian Economic Union applies unilateral trade preferences to a number of developing countries, including Mongolia, which means that those articles that are not covered by the interim agreement can still be imported to the EAEU, applying lesser duties. The treaty on the Eurasian Economic Union provides for 25% reduction on the duties of the common external tariff for the developing countries listed by the Eurasian Economic Commission. So basically, the importers from the EAEU countries, they can choose if for some reason they cannot apply the free trade regime for the goods imported from Mongolia, they can still apply the preferential duty rates. The key practical concern here is how to prove the origin of the goods, because the issue with all similar agreements is how the parties prove to each other that the goods pretending to be imported free of duty actually originate in the parties, on the territories of the parties. So for that purpose, the interim agreement contains a specific annex with the rules of origin, and they're quite simple. Not only the goods that are fully produced on the territories of the parties or exchanged between the parties can be traded free of charge, free of duty, but also the goods produced on the territories of the party using non-originating materials from third countries. And the ratio of such materials can be quite high, up to 50% of the value. To put it simply, a Mongolian enterprise can import raw materials from, for example, China, use them in the production. If the value of such raw materials in the final FCA value does not exceed 50%, such goods can still be imported to the EAEU under the free trade regime. And 50% is a quite relatively high threshold, because normally in this kind of agreements, such such non-originating materials ratio normally do not exceed 40%. So this is quite interesting, and this enables the traders from both countries not only sell to each other what they produce locally, but also sell free of duty the more complex goods which use some third parties components, materials, and so forth. The rules of origin under the interim agreement, as I said, are quite simple, but proving the origin is quite a serious concern, and the traders must know that they need specific certificates of origin, or if the consignments are below 5,000 euros or the equivalent in the parties' currencies, instead of certificate of origin, the declarant can provide a declaration of origin, which is a very handy tool. The traders do not need to bear additional costs for for obtaining the certificates from the respective agencies of the parties. As for non-tariff barriers, they're not touched upon much in the interim agreement. There are references to the WTO rules, which apply for technical barriers, technical regulations, sanitary, phytosanitary measures, anti-dumping, anti-subsidy measures, and so on and so far. Although there are some mechanisms to coordinate and to inform each other in case some goods cannot be released by the customs if they do not comply with the technical regulations. What is, in my view, the most important and the one of the strongest parts of the agreement is the obligations to facilitate customs formalities. The customs offices of both parties have 4 hours to release the goods after the customs declarations are registered, and to make it possible, there is also an obligation to use pre-arrival electronic data submission and processing based on risk management, so that when the goods arrive to the customs are already prepared and have all the data necessary to process the goods and to release them for the free circulation in the territory of importation. Dispute resolution is also quite simple. All disputes between the parties are settled through panels of arbitration with no reference to the WTO dispute resolution system, which is quite natural for Mongolia, who has never been involved in the dispute settlement process under the WTO rules. And also, as Director Serpikov said, the agreement will be valid for 3 years and then can be once extended for 3 years more. But within 6 years, it is supposed to be replaced with the full scope free trade agreement. If we briefly compare the customs regulations of Mongolia and the Eurasian Economic Union, we don't find too many differences. And the reason for that is that both customs territories use the same international law basis to develop its customs regulation. Mongolia is a member state of the WTO's the World Trade Organization since 1997. If you remember, Russia joined WTO only in 2012. Also, Mongolia is a member of the World Customs Organization since 1991 and has adopted the harmonized commodity description and coding system, which is the basis for the customs nomenclature, both in the EAEU and in Mongolia. So the customs code of the goods, at least on the level of 6 digits, are similar. Mongolia applies 8-digit coding system in its customs tariff, and EAEU applies 10-digit coding system. Also, non-tariff restrictions also arise from the same international treaties, those that are related to, for example, hazardous waste movement or endangered species movement and so on, or ozone layer destructing articles and so on and so forth. So basically the system of export and import restrictions is also similar in both Mongolia and EAEU, although Mongolia has certain specific non-tariff measures, a list of so-called strategic food items in terms of which annual quantitative restrictions apply, and traders need specific licenses to be able to import or export such items. As for the tariffs, import tariffs in Mongolia, they are relatively low and relatively simple. The majority of subheadings is charged with a little bit higher than 5% import duty, with some exceptions, of course. Alcohol, tobacco, agricultural goods, and wood, they are the most notable exceptions. But as for the rest of the trading items, the duty rate is relatively modest, although Mongolia applies also duties on exportation of certain products of wood. The experts note that when importing goods to Mongolia, the rate of physical customs checks is relatively high. So it means that majority of goods imported in Mongolia are subject not only to documentary examination by the customs, but also subject to physical examinations. The system of customs procedures and formalities is based to a large extent on the revised Kyoto Convention on harmonization of and simplification of customs procedures. So it is also similar to the system of customs procedures in the Eurasian Economic Union, although there are certain specific types of procedures that support local production, local manufacturing, and use of foreign components, foreign materials in the local production. Customs law in Mongolia do not prioritize electronic declaration forms. It says that the goods must be declared either in writing or electronically, without noting that the electronic declaration is a priority. And the interesting fact is that Mongolia does not apply any legislation on trade remedies such as anti-dumping, anti-subsidy, or safeguard measures in accordance with WTO legislation. The basic legislation in Mongolia in the sphere of customs and foreign trade is represented with two key laws, law on customs and law on customs tariff and customs duties. It distinguishes basic tariffs, most favored nation tariffs, and preferential tariffs. Preferential tariffs are used now only for Japan under the free trade agreement with that country, but now they will also apply to the importation from the Eurasian Economic Union. And the most favored nation applies to the other member states of the WTO and to countries with whom Mongolia has bilateral trade agreements. And basic tariff is twofold: the MFN tariff applying to all the remaining countries. And the system of customs charges is also similar to what we have in the EAEU. It is not only import and export customs duties, but also it is VAT, value-added tax, and excise taxes. As we see, the rate of VAT is only 10% in Mongolia, and it does not apply to the exportation. 0% rate VAT for the exportation, and the group of taxable goods under the law on excise tax is also similar to what is taxed in the EAEU, with some exceptions, notably some equipment for casino and bookkeeping. Bookmakers activities. So basically, this is the key information on the customs legislation in Mongolia and how it is compared to what we have in the EAEU. And generally, we can conclude that there are no major differences. The system of customs regulations are based on the same international conventions, international treaties, and the implementation of the interim agreement will be well supported by the customs legislation. And as I said, the key practical outcome of the interim agreement for importers of both territories, both countries, is to prove the origin of goods they import under the free trade regime. This is basically all I have to say this morning. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to contact me and to ask them now. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Naku. Do you have some more time for a follow-up question, quite a short one?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, at least I have one, but in case our colleagues also have some, please feel free, because we will open the interim round of questions and remarks after this discussion. So my question is, because you compared this current interim agreement to the interim agreement that was existing between EAEU, and Iran previously. In comparison with that document, in your assessment, which one is kind of provides a better ground for making a permanent free trade area. So from what we have heard, it seems that with Mongolia, it should be easier to harmonize the legislation than it was with Iran. Is that so?
Well, first of all, my point was that not the agreements are similar, but the idea of the concept of moving from the MFN trade to the free trade is similar through interim agreement, not starting with the free trade agreement from day one. Also, you're perfectly right. Iran is not a member of the WTO, and we do not have so many common international grounds with for our customs legislation and tariff regulations with Iran, although Iran has already implemented quite a lot of the WTO rules. So these are probably two key differences.
Which means that in the years ahead, the main task will be to establish better regulation on the origins of the products, right? So this is like the key task.
If you mean our trade with Mongolia, I think the key task would be to make the obtainment of proofs of origin easier, to apply electronic proofs of origin as much as possible on bilateral basis, to create a system of exchange of electronic information between the customs authorities of the EAEU and Mongolia, so that the traders do not have to provide a bunch of papers to release their goods.
Thank you very much. So dear colleagues online, offline, if anyone has questions, comments, this is the time to address them to the speakers we have just listened to. If somebody has a question online, please raise your hand and our colleagues will assist with that, or just voice out the question.
Okay, I have, dear colleagues, good morning, and thank you very much for your extensive and comprehensive presentations on potential benefits of this agreement. And I have one question to Nikita, and actually it refers to the table of economic effects. And I wanted to clarify when these effects are to take place. So what's the time span you've been analyzing? Say these effects are expected to happen in 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years, and etc. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. So actually, when we calculate and we make such calculations, it's one of the most difficult issues to explain when these effects will take place. But in this particular case, it's easier to explain because actually here we are talking about only about the tariffs. There's no like non-tariff barriers which we are to eliminate according to the text of the agreement. If we talk about this particular case, so these effects will apply as soon as all of the obligations will be done. So when we will eliminate or reduce all the tariffs according to the obligations which are in the text of the agreement, the next year we will see, we can say that we will see these effects to come true. It's so in the case of like just eliminating and reducing tariffs, it's easier. But if there were non-tariff barriers elimination, of course it would be much more difficult to explain when it will come into when such effects will come into force. Because what I'm talking about, of course, there is some tariff schedule, yes? So we are eliminating tariffs not one day, but gradually. So, for instance, this year we will eliminate tariffs on 50% of these 367 tariff lines. Next year we will eliminate all other tariff, all other tariffs on other tariff lines. So this affects it comes gradually. So this year, if we eliminate 50% of tariffs, yes, which we will give, it's quite simplification. We will get 50% of this effect. When we will eliminate or reduce 100% of these 386 tariff lines, we will get all the effect next year.
Thank you.
That's the logic.
Nikolaevna, well, I would like to draw your attention to the issues which Mr. Nak raised, because Nikita is talking about, let's say, pure calculation without taking into account any administrative things. For example, if the system of origin verification is quite complicated, it probably will be easier to pay that 5% duty without any headache. So, such issues can influence highly, especially when we talk about quite a low duty rate for MFN. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That's actually what I wanted to know. What was the information for these effects, basis for calculation of this effect? So just, okay. Yes, model. Thank you.
Anton Arkadyevich, do you have anything to add to that? Like whether...
Yeah, well, actually, proving origin must be difficult in the international trade. This is the idea of it, because otherwise, for example, there is a Chinese manufacturer whose products are subject to higher rate of duty in the EAEU, and probably also subject to anti-dumping duties in the EAEU. Or what he can do, he can set up a subsidiary in Mongolia, send his goods there, make some very minor modification, or just putting labels made in Mongolia and export them to the EAEU without paying the anti-dumping duties or using even free trade regime. So the concept of rules of origin is to prevent such situation. If the product satisfies the origin of Mongolia, the foreign component must not exceed 50% by value, and also there must be some real processing manufacturing operations in the territory of Mongolia. Otherwise, the origin cannot be proved. And of course, we want that proving of origin is simpler, is less costly, and so on and so far, but we cannot exclude it completely from the present day international trade. This is what all free trade agreements and preferential trade agreements are connected with. So this cannot be avoided. On the other hand, I fully agree that this must be as smooth and as less costly as possible for the traders. Otherwise, especially for consignments of low value, it makes no sense. We have to pay for the certificate of origin, and who knows if such amount of payment is justified. Maybe it is not justified because the duty you pay otherwise will not be that high. So fully agree that this is, of course, the concern of each trader to evaluate the transaction and to find the best option, the most effective option for how to pass it through customs.
Thank you, and thank you particularly for bringing up China in this round of discussion already. I think we will get back to it when we'll be discussing transport options. But before we proceed with the second part of our discussion, Dr. Badga, do you have any comments to this round? Anything else to add? No. Okay. Since, as far as I can judge, there are no further questions or comments to the first three contributions to our discussion, I'm happy to pass the floor to Mr. Nikita Sherbinin, Head of Marketing and Analysis Department of the Container Transport Division at the EuroSeep SPB Transport Systems, who is as well a lecturer at MGIMO University. So China, Mongolia, Eurasian Economic Union, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Yulia. Dear colleagues, good day. I'm very pleased to represent EuroSeep Group and MGIMO University at this event. Also, thanks a lot for invitation. In total, trade turnover between Russia and Mongolia has already exceeded $2 billion based on the results of 11 months this year. And in addition, temporary free trade agreement will definitely simplify trade procedures and bring the new growth drivers. When we talk about transport aspect, in transport aspects connected with Mongolia, I would like to draw your attention that Mongolia is one of the key links between Asia and Europe. It connects markets of China, Russia, Belarus, and European Union. And to be sure and clear, Eurasians, there are three main rail corridors in the Eurasian space. They are as follows. So the first one is via Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan has two container hubs when you talk about container transportation logistics. Dostik Alashenko, it's a border station, so Dostik at the Chinese side, and Alashenko is located on Dostik is located on Kazakhstan side, and Alashenko is located on Chinese side. The second container hub is Altenkol Horgos. And I would like to say that European transit flows plays a sufficient role in their capacities utilization. So let's move further, and the second corridor I mentioned is via border stations in Russia. So the major station is Zabaikalsk. The developing ones are the following: Gardekova, Nizhny Leninska, and Kamyshovo stations. And the third corridor, which is last but not least, is via Mongolia. So the scheme of delivery is as follows. There are border station Zaman Ud at the Mongolian side, and Erlan or Erenhoto at the Chinese side. And there are several rail platforms which is close to Mongolian border. For example, Shityazhuan in Hebei province, Jinan in Shandong province, and some other rail hubs in China. So they consolidate cargo flows from different provinces in China, and they and then they dispatch these flows to the west, to Mongolia, to Russia, Belarus, and European Union. And when we talk about European transit flows, it's necessary to notice that in the modern economic conditions, we have to consider different factors, external factors, when we analyze different routes. For example, when we compare rail corridors and ocean freight, obviously the main advantage, the main benefit of routes via railway network is transit times. So the main goal of this route development is to reduce dwell time when the cargo or container crossing the border. To be short and clear, ocean freight from Shanghai port to Hamburg takes around 40 days. When we talk about transportation by rail, it will take about 20 to 35 days via Zamunut station, and of course, as I said recently, it's a competitive advantage of this route development. The next thing I would like to mention is that ocean freight is subject to some political and military risks. For example, the situation in the Suez Canal. It is also taken into account by the carriers. The next segment that I would like to analyze is the flows between China and Russia via different corridors, including via Mongolia. So the trade flows between these countries are these flows have a better balance. I mean export and import balance, so the operators are able to use their assets, including railroad cars and container stock, in a proper way. Mongolian border is Mongolia in total is close to such regions, such cities as Irkutsk and Krasnoyarsk that are focused on export flows. For example, these regions export aluminium products to China. Aluminium is consumed in different industries, in shipbuilding, in the production of electronics and some other appliances. Also, these regions develop export of agricultural products such as oil, seeds, and grain. So I think that Trans-Mongolian route can attract the mentioned cargo flows. At the same time, Mongolia is able to attract westbound shipments from China to Russia, Belarus, and European Union. And in conclusion, I would like to draw your attention to the following route. It also can be classified as transit ones. When you talk about delivery by rail from ASEAN countries such as Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, we also can arrange the delivery with using railroad corridors. So let's analyze the route for westbound shipment from Hanoi in Vietnam to Moscow. So the scheme of delivery will be divided into two parts. The first one is from Hanoi to any rail hub station in China, for example, Chongqing. And the next step is container train from Chongqing to Erlan station, border station, and then the final step is from Zamenhof to Moscow station, any Moscow station in the region. So I would like to say that when we talk about rail corridors via Mongolia, it should be we should take into account not only China, yeah, but also different markets, including ASEAN countries. So, the colleagues, thanks a lot for attention. If you have any questions, please ask. We'll discuss.
Thank you. May I ask you one question? Integration Institute, Konstantin Kacharovsky. Could you tell me, please, you have just said that you have a benefit by railway in comparison with the sea transportation, but you said that only 35 days, up to 35 days by railway and 40 days by ship from China to Europe. Is it a small benefit? And is it a regional local story for railway transportation from China through Mongolia to Russia? I mean for region Siberia and nearest region, and not the main way from China from east to west and vice versa. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Konstantin. You're absolutely right that nowadays it's not the main route which is used for trade between Asia and Europe, but the first part of your question considers the difference between transit time. Well, the transit time, when you talk about rail shipping from China to Europe, it's about from 20 to 35 days. So, which is when, for example, border station is overloaded due to high traffic. So we will get 35 days in total, yeah, for delivery. When in standard terms, I suppose that the delivery by rail will take about 20-25 days. So the difference is crucial. And in addition, the global carriers which delivers containers from China to main European ports, to Rotterdam, to Hamburg, they are they have to use alternative route via the Cape of Good Hope, so around the Africa, and the total transit time increasing, and 40 days is I would say the best option you can get in case of ocean freight. So I suppose that 10 or 15 days is sufficient benefit for importers or exporters. And the second part of your question, I suppose that rail corridor via Mongolia, it's not a local story. Siberian flows is just an example of using this corridor for export cargoes from Russia to China, eastbound shipments, but it also can be used for different locations of Russian export. For example, ferrous metals from Ural, such as copper, steel products. These commodities are also transported in containers, so we to be shown and clear, we can use this corridor for different locations, for import, both for import and export cargo flows.
Thank you. And could I ask another question? I want to know how you solve the problem of different tracks between China and Mongolia and Russia. I mean, the width of track.
I guess
35 and 1540.
1520. So,
sorry, 1520.
It's okay. I will explain the technology in. I will try to explain the technology in simple words. So, Erlang station has. Let's make it easier. Chinese Railways has rail track 35 millimeters, and Russia at the same time has 15-20 millimeters rail track. So for Chinese territory, we use Chinese platforms on these tracks. And for Mongolia and for Russian territory, we use different railroad cars for rail track 1520, and the technology at the border is as follows: container discharge from the Chinese wagons to the wagons which pass their 1520 rail track. So the containers are reloaded. So is it clear, Konstantin? Or
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I would like to ask in connection with the first question of Konstantin. First of all, I would like to highlight that this difference could be 20 days or could be 35 days. Is it due to our transit bottlenecks?
I suppose no, because Transip is, I would say, there was a modernization of Trans-Siberia corridor, and when you talk about 2025 year or this year, Trans-Siberian railway network is underloaded, because it was overloaded in 2024, but today
let's go.
We are able to handle more and more cargos via Trans-Siberia.
Okay, but anyway, you said about time in road, but you say nothing about the cost. Comparison of the cost between railway road and ocean road.
But it depends on the location of the delivery. So, for example, the cost may be higher when we deliver container to Germany or to Poland, but in some cases the customer, I mean importer, analyze different parameters of delivery and transit times often may be in the spotlight. Yeah,
I understand that. I understand that, but how much higher?
I think that now rail delivery by rail will be around 6,000, and ocean freight 6,000 for 40-foot container, and ocean freight is $3,000. So the difference at the moment is around 3,000, but
twice.
Yeah. Nevertheless, the first benefit of rail corridor I mentioned, it's transit times, but the second advantage, which is also important, is frequency. Because trains have better frequency of departure than ships. And when we compare local costs, because I have calculated the rates, 6,000 for ocean freight and 6,000 for rail freight and 3,000 for ocean freight. It's for 4 terms. But when we face with X-Works, for some location which are close to the stations, local costs may be less in comparison with transporting the container from EU city to Shanghai, for example. Yeah.
But anyway, the price is twice higher, and on the other hand, yeah, it could be 20 days, but there is some uncertainty because for business, from my point of view, sometimes it's much more important to be certain about the terms and the time of delivery. But if I order some goods to be transported from point A to point B, it's some kind of not very good story when could be 20 or could be 35 for 6,000.
But I would like to highlight that delivery by sea is also subject to many factors. For example, port congestion, weather conditions, and 40 days is also subject to change.
May I add up a couple more questions? Sorry for this interrogation, but I once heard from another company representative, won't quote to avoid marketing. He said that like transport and connectivity is an essentially positive sphere, which is why we are usually inherently positive about everything we are doing, and that's why we are receiving so many questions because everyone believes in us. I would like to touch upon two things. The first thing, more connected to the issue that we're discussing today, again, as compared to the Iranian case, because I remember that there are still a lot of problems with north-south transport corridor, but when the free trade area between the EAEU and Iran was concluded, it is believed that it has given certain boost to the construction of the road and to exploitation, because the number of commodities and goods that are to be transported has increased. Can the free trade area with Mongolia have similar effect, at least for this intermediary parts of the railroad? What is your take? Or maybe you have already received some interest from exporters.
Well, I'm convinced that it depends on the foreign commodities, which should be, which will be included in this agreement. But the cornerstone of this question is competition between railway network and delivery by truck. When we discuss Russia and Mongolia trade, it's the first point. The second point is the balance between export and import flows. For example, we have the following commodities which can be containerized, which can be transported into container from Russia to Mongolia. They are steel, some agricultural commodities, etc. But when you're talking about westbound flow from Mongolia, I'm not sure that operators will arrange the proper balance between export and import, and also the cargoes which the cargoes from Mongolia to Russia, they also can be attracted by trucks. Well, so this is a feature of the route. But I suppose it may be fixed with, for example, when we talk about utilization of railroad cars, the situation can be fixed by transit volumes from China, but the container stock, it's a hard task to solve the situation with container stock because of improper balance between trade flows. So I suppose. Well, in total, I suppose yes, it gives the sonant boost, but it's hard to forecast the traffic which rail transport take.
And the preferred means of transport also, as far as I can judge. Andrey Vladimirovich, on a broader level, do you think that like this increase of transit cargoes from China via the corridor, will it complicate tracing the origins of products further? So are there risks in here? So like, if the corridor is completed, if the railroad and rail trade is smooth, then it means that Chinese goods will be coming to Mongolian market easier, and then.
What is the difference between the current situation?
Even more.
No, I don't see a big problem here. Rules of origin by themselves do not complicate anything. The administration of rules of origin can complicate. But any improvement of transportation, railway, or whatever it is, it by itself from my point of view, does not lead to any risks in this field.
Okay, thank you. I will spare my second question for the break. Not to keep us from this second presentation we have planned from the National Development Institute side. So we have Dr. Damiran with us online, researcher of the Market and Competitiveness Department of the National Development Institute. Please, the floor is yours.
Good morning, dear colleague. Can you see shared screen?
Yes, we can see the screen, and we believe we see the previous presentation.
Okay. Now I am going to present about bypassing barriers of Mongolia. Our message is very simple. We can reduce barriers with a package, hard infrastructure plus soft forms like procedure, standard, and digital systems. The Mongolia's border ports network and gateways, and from distance from Ulaanbaatar to Major, shown in this slide. The geographic rate rail cost. For example, Altamuluk is about 335 kilometers. Zamiud 616 kilometers, and Kashun-Sofat 815 kilometers from Ulaanbaatar. This is why a north and west focus is not narrow. It helps balance routes and reduce risk. Next slide, please. Logistic performance index snapshot and corridor analysis results shown in this slide. From this, we can see from this slide that performance can improve. Mongolia's LPI rank improved from 113 in 2011 to 19.7 in 2023, and the score rose from 2.21 to 2.53. Corridor analysis results help us see which ports carry higher flows and where investment leaves a big impact. The next table, broader port efficiency of the analysis results shown in this slide. Efficiency is different by port. Some ports like Altamuluk and Zamiud show very low efficiency, while Kashim-Sofat is more efficient. So we should target bottlenecks where they matter most. The next slide, bypassing package is shown this slide. From this slide, we can see that Mongolia has many ports, but not all operate fully. There are 9 ports in pre-work and 24 permanent. The key is clear. Key performance indicator is increased capacity, but border control time by 30% and cut total export time by 15%, but full digital processes. Next. Many barriers are soft barriers. We need a shared non-trade measures list license using United Nations Conference in Trade and Development, stronger levels and certification and correct harmonized system coding. Dry forces can move some clearance inland and reduce at the border. Next slide. Get started. From this slide, we conclude that zero tariff doesn't mean trade become cheap. Value-added tax still applies, often 12 to 20% plus fees and compliance costs. If exporters cannot grow, importers may grow faster than exporters. So tariff policy must come with a export support package, standards, logistics, and finance. Okay. So with that, we will move the next object, Mongolia's role and Eurasian integration. This part is based on research conducted by our colleague Mungenzo, and she will now share the main findings and recommendations.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and dear colleagues. Now let's move on to the Mongolia's role and multilateral value proposition. So now I focus on Mongolia's role, and our value is connectivity and practical pilot cooperation that benefits many partners, not only one. So Mongolia's advantage is route options, multiple ports, and modes reduce dependence on only one single corridor. And therefore, the diversification is risk management. So we keep trade moving when one gate faces delays. And key performance indicator is very important. So concentration by top ports and clearance time and ability to reroute within 72 hours is very important. We recommend evidence-based negotiation. Strong talks need credible analysis and clear sequencing to reduce risk and improve implementation. So an interim FTA should be treated as a pilot with measurable results. So also, Mongolia's product list is narrow, and you can see that agriculture heavy. So compliance and logistics must come first. And in conclusion from today's slide, we proposed that 4 practical outputs. So first of all, we see that we can agree 1 or 2 pilot corridors and KPIs for time. And the second one is create a shared NTM and SPS data template and prioritized product lists. And the third one is align port and dry port definitions and implementation logic. And the last one is set a simple monitoring dashboard for imbalance risks and paste checkpoints. And to conclude our slide, we discussed the 3 main points. And first of all, maybe prospects must start from a clear baseline, which our Dr. Amasana has included and discussed, and therefore we need to bypass barriers, requires maybe a bundled approach, hard and soft infrastructure standards, and maybe process reforms. And in conclusion, Mongolia's value proposition is multilateral connectivity, and we do evidence-based research and culture governance. Okay, this is our reference from today's slide, and thank you for your attention.
Dear colleagues, thank you very much, especially for the recommendations part. I think it's invaluable for our roundtable today, and exploring further potential of Mongolia as a connectivity hub. I think it's something that we should and would, I'm sure, in the Eurasian Economic Commission do. Dear colleagues, we are wrapping up the connectivity part of our roundtable. Any questions, comments, additions from the audience? Konstantin Sergeyevich, please.
I will thank you for invitation to this roundtable. I think next time we will discuss a cooperation project. A lot of agreements gives a lot of branches of cooperation, such of them agriculture. For example, buildings of greenhouses. Thank you.
For sure. Any other comments or questions? People on Zoom?
Well, I have one question for, let's say, wrapping up. And this question is addressed to our Mongolian colleagues. Can you just summarize in a few words what are the main profits you see from the free trade agreement with the EAEU? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for question. So also I would like to thank to all the participants and also give us a comprehensive talks for each participants. So also I would like to agree with this last person who was mentioned about this agricultural development, what is needed, which is needed in the future our discussion settings. So in the meantime, look, on this we saying there's a precisely to why managed evidence-based approaches are like needed. We seeing this on this point of view. This kind of we need many other research study more focusing on this. Of course, the main settlement of this law, this regulations and law, and between this Russia and Mongolians and trade market in this, not only this EAEU, also this because Mongolia need to or more negotiation or more understanding between all the trades which is included in the EAEU list, and that's why we need more research, evidence-based research and approach. And on the other hand, also we would like to see this our priority. Main priorities on mining sector. Also, there's many mining products also need to be to export. Without export, we could also not say any more thing about the import. So that's why this the data says we still have to has to be to cooperate on that search with the Russian scientists, Russian specialists from this kind of orientation. So, yeah.
Thank you. We have one more question on logistics. So we are not wrapping up entirely. We have one more presentation. So.
Okay, I also have a question to our Mongolian colleagues. And actually, it's about the Belt and Road Initiative. And as we all know, Mongolia has been participating in the Belt and Road Initiative for a pretty long time. And I'm wondering if there are any logistics projects with China in the framework of this Belt and Road Initiative. and if this project, in terms of ports building, etc., or road building, can actually positively impact trade between Mongolia and the Eurasian Economic Union. Thank you.
Yeah, that was the question addressed to the Mongolian side, so maybe Dr. Devasuren or Dr. Damiran, it's about your cooperation with China on logistics. Like, how can China help Mongolia to realize the connectivity potential you were mentioning, or how is it helping already? If anyone else knows, I think the mic is on. So.
Sorry.
Yes, Dr. Namzhilova, I was thinking to referring to you.
Can I comment this question? First of all, thanks organizers for inviting to this roundtable, and commenting this question on participating on Mongolia in China's Belt and Road Initiative. Three countries, China, Mongolia, and Russia, in 2015, they signed agreement or program on establishment of three-parted economic corridor. So this economic corridor is one of the six economic corridors of this great Chinese initiative. And 10 years also, 10 years, this period, we can see that there are some problems in boosting infrastructure connectivity between three countries, but there is high political support from all countries, and infrastructure connectivity now is a top agenda, and including border ports, including railroad modernization, including railroad and also air links. So all this, I think, that will influence on the implementation of the interim trade agreement between Mongolia and Eurasian. Efficiency of this agreement and efficiency of corridor on the implementation of this agreement. And infrastructure foreign trade infrastructure of both regions, Russian tension, it's concerning logistics terminals.
Yeah, Dr. Namzhilova, maybe you disconnect and then connect back, and then we'll continue this conversation, if it's okay,
sorry,
because
I can continue a little bit later. Okay.
Yeah, let's try it like that, because the connection seems to be low. And in the meantime, we have last but not least speaker. Thank you for your patience. It's Dr. Sergei Mikhnevich, a leading research fellow at the Institute of China and Contemporary Asia of the Russian Academy of Sciences, who has a great experience working with the Eurasian Economic Union. So please, Dr. Mikhnevich, the floor is yours.
Well, dear colleagues, thank you very much for your invitation and for the great discussion we have today, because I can say that the quality of the discussion is one of the essential conditions for practical political solutions. And I'd like to draw your attention. I hope that I will be able to share with you my file because if it's possible. Colleagues, probably can you help me to share my presentation with the audience if it's possible? Because I'm not sure if it's possible to make it through mobile phone I use for connection.
Should be possible, yeah. Yeah, 1 second.
Wait a second. Okay, that's great. Oh, that's great. So, please, next slide. I also have made some calculations regarding our trade cooperation between Mongolia and Eurasian Economic Union, based on the UNCTAD's data. You know, this is one of the best, state base, and well, we have the following results. Some of them we have already discussed. Thank you to our colleagues from WEFT for great for great lecture, I even can say. And I thoroughly considered their presentation, and I see that there are some discrepancies in stats between the official stats we have, I mean the colleagues from WEFT, and the stat of the UNCTAD. Because the turnover between Mongolia and Eurasian Economic Union, according to the UNCTAD stat, is more than $8 million US, more than presented in the first presentation. And I for sure take into account the time we have at the moment. I'd like to draw your attention to things already proposed by some of our colleagues, but they should be mentioned one more time, I'm sure. The first one is the asymmetry in the relations, the trade structure between the Eurasian Economic Union and Mongolia. Our esteemed colleagues from Mongolia mentioned in their presentations. And on the slide, you can see such difference. When exports to Mongolia export to Mongolia from the Eurasian Economic Union accounts for almost 31% of the Mongolian total import. At the same time, the Mongolian export to the Eurasian Economic Union just 1%. That's, I can say that's immense, but for sure, and not in the best, meaning. And in order to improve our trade and increase our volumes, we for sure need to work on this asymmetry. And at the same time, we also see the growing importance of the Eurasian Economic Union for Mongolian trade. You see that the EAEU external trade quota in 2019 was something like 13%. At the same time, in 2024, this external trade quota, the ratio the Eurasian trade with the Eurasian Economic Union to the GDP of Mongolia is more than 16%. So it's added more than 3%, which is very significant. Please, next slide. So I also would like to bring your attention to the structure of the Mongolia world export and import in 2024. You see that the Mongolian export to the world market is rather concentrated. Top 5 of the biggest Mongolian goods account for almost 83.5% of the total Mongolian export. While at the same time, top 10 account for even more, 95 and 72%, which is very, very concentrated. I see. At the same time, the import is not so concentrated, and top 5 of imported goods account for 35%, and top 10 more than 45%. That means that Mongolia can have various channels of import, and the import of Mongolia is much more diversified. Please, next slide. So, and take a look at the structure of Mongolia export and import in the Eurasian Economic Union trade. So you see that the export concentration is significant less than in the first situation when we discuss the export of Mongolia to the world market. At the same time, the import concentration is significantly higher, and almost 2 billion of US dollars is just the single position, petroleum oils or bituminous minerals. Please, next slide. So, and on this slide, you see, I suppose, rather curious data, because we compare the dynamics and paces in Mongolian GDP growth with the Eurasian trade importance. We propose such term, and Eurasian trade importance is the ratio of the trade between Eurasian and Economic Union with Mongolia to the Mongolian GDP per capita. And you see that in the period from 2019 to 2024, this Eurasian trade importance almost doubled, while their growth rate was also immense. It's more than 1.6 times. And you see that the Eurasian trade importance for Mongolia also slightly growing. And the last slide. And what about the trade challenges and solutions? Well, I don't want to reply the ideas proposed by our colleagues, and I would like to draw your attention to 7 bricks for empowering our trade economic cooperation. The first is connected to the development of soft and hard infrastructure. This issue was already raised by our colleagues, so I will not bring more attention to this one. The second one, for sure, is the securitization of payments and settlements. We need to work on the alternative instruments such as counter trade, such as digital currencies, because the practice reveals that the extreme, I can say, sensitivity of our partners in connection with various sanction pressure. And for sure, we need to think about each other and provide the best practical solutions for ensuring our trade. The third point, the third brick, is the problem of bridging information gaps. You know that our business circles are not, unfortunately, very aware of opportunities we have. So we need to work more on this issue. The fourth brick is the facilitation of mutual value chains. We need to increase our mutual investment. Unfortunately, we do not have the most fresh states on mutual investments, but unfortunately, the second time, these investments are not very significant, and so we need to work more on this. So it will also increase our positive interconnectedness between the economies of Mongolia and Eurasian Economic Union. The fifth is connected with the fourth, and it's the promotion of collaboration at the third countries' markets. Our colleagues today mentioned the agreement between Mongolia and Japan, and other agreements the Mongolia and the Eurasian Economic Union have, and these agreements with thorough consideration to the clauses, to the terms, might provide us the great opportunities for increasing our trade and investment. The sixth one is the utilization of opportunities provided by multilateral institutions of international cooperation for rule-making and trend-setting. We need to work on the rules which are suitable for our own conditions and our terms. And the last, probably but not least, is the pushing forward business cooperation, such as the instruments elaborated by the business circles, namely the Eurasian Economic Union Mongolia Business Dialogue, established by the Eurasian Economic Union Business Council and the Chamber of Commerce and Industries of Mongolia, and such institutions as Northeast Asia Business Association, also set by the biggest business associations of the Northeast Asia, namely from Mongolia, People's Republic of China, Republic of Korea, and the Russian Federation. And so, thank you, colleagues, for your attention.
Thank you very much. As a short follow-up, Vladimir Mikhailovich Serpikov in his remarks in the opening session mentioned that they are now organizing a special committee for the business circles of both countries. Do you think that this step, well, let me phrase it correctly, like, do you think that both business communities are prepared for this step? Like, how active can be the engagement from the Mongolian side, for example, with such a committee, from your experience?
So I'd like to probably do correct one thing, because Vladimir Mikhailovich mentioned not the business not the special instrument for business collaboration, but the coordination committee for under the agreement, and that's not about the business cooperation. But you have a wonderful intervention, because we have special instruments for business involvement in the trade, well, under the trade agreements. What this clause 1.6. I mean, Article 1.6 is included in the agreement between the Eurasian Economic Union and the Iran. Well, also mentioned today, and this article is dedicated to the Eurasian Economic Union Iran business dialogue established by EAEU Business Council, and this instrument, even mechanism, I can say, well, is very useful for ensuring the complex participation of the business in the process of further development of our trade. I mean, of the trade rules, of thorough development of our institutional mechanisms, and for, well, bridging the information gaps, and well, I can say developing the nexus between our business communities. So, and for sure, trying to answer your question, I'd like to say that we see intentions from our Mongolian partners, but at the same time, some of them are very sensitive to the cooperation, and they kindly ask our Eurasian Economic Union business parties to take their worrying into consideration, and many of the ideas which might be very useful for further development of our trade, for increase our trade volumes and investments, they are under elaboration, because not all of them can be revealed at the initial stages, and probably that's one of the significant problems, because sometimes the observers can say that there is nothing interesting in the Eurasian Economic Union Mongolia relationships, and that's not true, I can say.
Thank you very much. And I saw the hand raised by Dr. Bolt Hishikjargal from the Institute of International Studies of Mongolian Academy of Sciences. Please, if the question remains, feel free to ask it.
Greetings, colleagues. Thank you very much for very interesting presentations and discussions on the quite relative topic of relations between Mongolia and the Eurasian Economic Union. Today, the speakers have presented quite an extensive case in support for the value and promise of cooperation between EAEU and Mongolia in economic sphere, in such issues as trade, investment, transport, infrastructure-related issues. I would like to ask a question about a different kind of issue. As you may know, during the negotiations concerning the interim trade agreement, there have been, well, complicated talks between the parties, which is understandable. Both parties are defending their interests after all. But as I monitored the issues, I've noticed
certain articles in the press, in the media, and experts speaking out against this the kind of cooperation between EU and Mongolia, against this treaty, on the basis of that it will somehow sabotage Mongolia's third neighbor policy and multipolar cooperation, multipolar foreign policy, because it will make Mongolia too dependent on its northern ally, northern neighbor. As we know, we have been able to overcome these fears and finalize the interim trade agreement. But I would like in particular to ask our Mongolian colleagues if they think we will be able to reach a more permanent agreement well, considering that such fears regarding Russia and EAEU do exist in Mongolia. What do you think?
So, thank you for your question. So it seems like Mr. Hishijabal is not here, right? And therefore we could continue. Sorry for the moderator.
Sorry, yeah, what's the question?
Just for the clarifying, this the Hishijabal from IIS Mass Mongolian Academy of Sciences. Is she or he left, right? Already left, and therefore.
Yeah, we think so. There were connection problems.
Sorry for that. Yeah. Okay, so we will continue for the latest question. So we think, of course, there are many treaties from societies, especially from the not only the business sides, also this another political side. There is many engagement between Russia and also EAEU, but there is also some societal sides. They don't like the bordering their business. Also, this is kind of this business competitiveness, and seems also this is not only from our side. Also, we are National Development Institute is only the research institution which is more focusing on this. What is the benefit between this modern agreements, how it's going on through, and then what we will gain from that. Only on that we are focusing at the moment. But the problem is like not only the benefits, also the beneficiary effect is like side effect. There's many. It's also still under the research. And that's why we could not say any much bigger things. But we have two big neighbors. So politically, we have to also be more careful. Also, politically, also our government still would like to continue our agreement, which is already finalized last year, and therefore they focus more study on this which direction. So, for example, we mentioned this agriculture, mining, and also the Kashmir market is also really important to bring it out to the EAEU market through the Russian market, and that's why we would like to more clarify what is this, especially previously mentioned about this Belt and Road initiatives. Also, what can they do? The efforts our economy to boost not only the China, also the EAEU with the Russia. That's why our main problem is, of course, this is the logistic system, not only the internationally, also the domestic logistic is always pretending this is not a real good one. And that's why we are seeing this up to the 2030, we have more than 12 priority big projects, which is included in the Belt and Road, together with Chinese 32 projects included. And from these 32 projects also remain covering our 12 projects as together with we all want to be connected to the EAEU market. So, as you see in this, and this initiative was also announced, this 12 project need to be done with Mongolian government, and that's why we're still trying to list or like legalize this many projects. For example, this rail gauge, rail system difference, because this rail system difference is always bringing us this block to the export and import system, and that's why it's, politically is much complicated task. Yeah. Yeah, but still we are working on that, and this, we hope it will go on through the next years, next 4 years. Seems like 26 to 2030, we have our 5 years legal government guideline is already implemented, and in this guideline we already mentioned whole procedure, not only the logistics, also this custom service law, and also some additional more like technology-based industry to development with two neighbors, and etc. That's why the EAEU agreement is also really important for us to make it more understandable and also clear and more more approved one. Not only the government, also at the same time with the society. Yeah.
Thank you very much. One more question.
Thank you. I've got one more question to our colleagues from Mongolia. And, well, as far as I know, the FTA agreement with the Eurasian Economic Union is the second FTA Mongolia has signed. The first one was the one with Japan, bilateral FTA with Japan in 2015. My question is, how would you assess briefly the results of this agreement with Japan, and whether benefits, real benefits, probably overweighted, or potential benefits of this agreement, or perhaps the results are moderate. What's your estimation of this agreement? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So you're completely right. So we have this agreement with the Japan so earlier, like almost like 10 years ago, and in this case, we still hoping it was together with this, because we have very one of the big block on this in the parliament. This is the one law is already has been fallen down. This is the investment law, the international foreign investment law, and that is always like changing the game rules. And that's why this our Mongolian business sector always trying to keep on this with the investors from the foreign side, not only the Japan, but internationally. That seems like the technology-based background is still needed, and that's why like industry development is needed so hardly for us. So we estimating this our future is more likely this not only the hard industry or heavy industry, but also same time we need more like technology based companies, or like SMEs at least. We need to be developed with the other countries, especially for with our two neighbors. Therefore, this law should be clear. This foreign investment law should be clear, and also it should be discussed near this in the parliament. Also, same time we have the free economy law is the same time is going on, because it also the part of this business sector was to freeing not only the private sector, also the foreign investors. And that's why we not sure, because we are not a part of this law sector, but still we are looking more like beneficial results from this parliament discussion. So in this spring spring session of the parliament, in this it will start in February. Yeah. On other hand, as EAU, also this is this main lists. Also, this not only non-mining sector should be also legalized or no improved. This their number of the products to the exporting, but the point of view is like our importing case is not the same in balanced way. We could not to arrange that so easily. So that's my question.
Thank you so much.
So, dear colleagues, I believe it was a very thick and active discussion that we've had today. Thank you very much for your participation, for your real engagement into this story, and we thank, as Russian International Affairs Council, we thank all the institutional partners of this event, so both from the Russian and Mongolian side. So thank you for coming, thank you for dedicating your time to this discussion. We believe it's extremely timely, and actually, as it has been mentioned today, there are a few more spheres to dig deeper into, such as agriculture primarily and other things. So we hope that these discussions will continue, and we will make sure that all the recommendations that were voiced out today will reach their potential implementers. And again, thank you very much, and have the great rest of the day.
Thank you for invitation.
Thank you
very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to thank Russian Council. Since our institution is connected with the Ministry of Economic Development of the Russian Federation, I can predict that we'll be asked about the progress in economic cooperation with Mongolia, not once in the future. And again, thank you very much for organizing this meeting, and it was a great pleasure to see and to talk to our Mongolian colleagues. I hope that we will not just get out of the room and forget about this event, and we will be in touch, and probably will somewhere after the agreement comes into force, we can in a half year, in 3 months or whatever it is, we can organize a meeting like this just to take a look at the first results. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much also for having us to discuss with you these important tasks. So also we will be in contact anytime, any way we should be stay in touch. So we would like to share all of our shared information with you, and also if you have any questions or any needs, just let us know. So thank you very much again. All the best. Yeah.